It's sad, and that's why I'm so frustrated with this culture right now that's calling out every little thing and like saying like everyone gets like a participation trophy for just trying, like not wanting there to be winners or losers. You know, it's like, no, that's life. People win and lose. Like, and teaching kids that no, like everything you do is special, everything you do is great, everything you do is an A, like trying to get rid of these systems of A, B, C, D, or, and like kids need to fall on their face and be able to get up, or else you're setting them up to be eaten up by wolves in this life. Because newsflash, no one in this life cares about your kid. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but this life does not have to coddle your kid like you do at home, and they won't. So all you're doing is setting up them with no, you know, figurative weapons to fight for themselves.
Right. Like no resilience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Jonathan Haidt's book, Coddling of the American Mind, which I somewhere like halfway in, and I kind of put it down, but he talks a lot about that stuff as well.
They clear out any obstacles in the way.
Concierge parenting, I've heard.
Right. Yeah. So that the kid doesn't have to ever face any difficulties. How can that kid function in the real world?
That's right. So the most important psychological idea in the book is anti-fragility, that there are some things that are fragile, like a wine glass. If you knock it over, it breaks, nothing good happens. If something is plastic, you knock it over, it doesn't get damaged, but it doesn't get better. But there are some things that have to be stressed or challenged, like the immune system. If you protect your kid's immune system, use bacterial wipes, you're actually hurting the kid. You're preventing the system from getting the information it needs. Same thing with social life. If you protect your kids from being excluded, from being insulted, from being teased, when they grow up, it's like the Princess and the Pea, a little tiny thing that they encounter on campus now becomes intolerably painful.
But what I'm hearing you speak to is this idea that confrontation, that aggressive style, and I know like aggression is almost like a bad word in some circles these days, but you having that professor who was like, this is not good enough. You're capable of more. It's it's blunt, you know, it's like just like a samurai sword.
She was one of those professors that would hold the bar high on me. Like I would think I wrote a piece that was amazing and she'd be like, it's not good enough. And I'm like, listen, she's like, no, it's not. Like this, compared to what I know you can do, this actually sucks. Because deep down, I think we all don't do our best up front, if that makes sense. So it's like, I think, at least for me, I would give not all my all. Like I would do my best as I am comfortable to do. And if someone was like proud of that, it's like, dang, I can do better. And if that's all you thought I could do, then I guess I shouldn't ever do much. But those people that are like, there's something still left in you that you're not giving up, and I see it. And you're like, dang. This is why I really like Jordan Peterson. I remember he was talking this lecture about kids with anxiety or depression, and he's like, kids don't want you to coddle them. Like, kids don't want you to be like, oh, just stay in, Billy, and everything will be fine. They want you to say, no, you're a mess. Like, you're not your potential. Like, you get up and get out there. It's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. And I like that because that's how life is like that. Life does not care, and life doesn't have to care about you. Like, no one has to care about you.
It was about the psychological wisdom of the ancients. The ancients understood how to thrive, how to get along with people. And so they gave us principles like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but we've somehow begun teaching kids that what doesn't kill them might make them weaker. We need to protect them from words and things like that, which was Greg's original insight. The second great untruth is always trust your feelings. And the third is life is a battle between good people and evil people. I hope we'll be able to talk about here about how these bad ideas got into the educational system, into our child rearing.
That's right. And Greg, go ahead.
But let's talk about always trust your feelings. Because aren't we raised, Greg, follow your heart, pay attention to your feelings, keep in tune with your gut. So I'm always thinking you're supposed to trust your feelings. Sure. You say, listen, sometimes your feelings mislead you.
Exactly. The great untruths of emotional reasoning is the one that sounds the nicest. It sounds the warmest and fuzziest, the most romantic. But I learned the hard way through really terrible bouts of depression that sometimes your mind is telling you things that aren't so nice and that you shouldn't be listening to.
Like
that, well, you know, the common cognitive distortions, as they call them in CBT, are like saying you're broken, or if this date doesn't go well, I'm done for, or if this job interview fails, that I'll never get a job again. Catastrophizing.
CBT being cognitive behavioral therapy, which, Jonathan, in the book, you offer solutions about how to encounter the world. And it requires things like cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness to be able to prepare yourself for the basically frictions of life.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's right. So one of the greatest ideas from every culture is that there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so, is how Shakespeare put it. Mm-hmm. Our life is the creation of our minds, is how Buddha put it. Mm-hmm. And so as students are coming into a new situation, should they interpret everything as dangerous, threatening, and aggressive? Or should they interpret it as a cornucopia full of opportunities? And there are going to be little bumps along the way. There are going to be unpleasantnesses. Should they interpret those as attacks or as faux pas or errors? And so how students learn to frame things will greatly affect whether they thrive or whether they retreat into a shell in a defensive crouch in college.
To me, there's a confusion between appropriate care and coddling, and those things are just conflated. And so what I love about proper initiation work is it's all these things we're talking about. There's like a brutalness to it. It's like a little bit of this brutal truth in this, trying to see somebody very clearly in this. And I mean, real initiation back in the day, you're putting an extreme challenge in front of somebody and saying, like, you get over this, and now you're an adult in the culture.
Yeah.
We don't, like, you can go get your license or graduate, but again, like you mentioned, that's getting softer and softer. Like,
it's so soft and non-existent. It's like you got to see what you're made of. It's like it's like, a couple examples. Like the mother bird kicking her little birdies out of the nest. Like, she does not want them to die, but if they don't, she doesn't push them, they'll die in the nest, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's either you fly or you don't. And I mean, she wants you to fly. That's why.
Yep. But
you have to be pushed out. And then, like, I just thought about this example because it just came to mind. With like the movie 300, and like, you go out and you're a young boy. I don't know how old he was, 13, I don't know. Fighting the wolf or whatever, and it wasn't because they hated him, it's because they loved him, but he had to become a man. And in a sense, like, people have to find out who they are in like the hardest circumstances. You don't find that in comfortability, you find that in fear. Mm-hmm. And I found like that is where a lot of my confidence comes from, because I don't think I'm like the smartest person on the earth. I hope no one thinks they're the smartest person. I don't think I'm like this just a exceptional person, but I know like the archival evidence in my life, what I've overcome, and that's why I come in with like situations. I have this confidence to like, it's okay if I fail, but I know so many times I've jumped and taken the risk and I've landed on my feet.
Yeah.
I think one of the most alarming things for parents, too, is we go back to school, everybody's going off to university, is what you write about, that adolescent anxiety and depression are unlike anything seen in modern times. So how have campuses and schools changed as a result of that?
And that's the scariest revelation for us, and doing the research for it, is that, our argument is essentially we have anxious, depressed, and polarized students, and we're wondering how we got there. And our point is that we're teaching the mental habits of anxious, depressed, and polarized people. Mm-hmm.
So Lisa D'Amour, who's a psychologist here that's on our show frequently, is writing a book about this too. Sometimes anxiety and stress are good things.
Sure.
They are natural protectants. Why have we labeled them as such negative feelings that then become all-encompassing?
Well, good intentions. I mean, the subtitle of our book is How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure. Right. We all want to protect our kids. And as societies have fewer and fewer children, and as the safety of those children goes up and up and up, we find smaller and smaller things to worry about.
One of my favorite lines is prepare the children for the road, not the road for the child.
That's right.
Yeah.
Greg, let me ask you, you write about the call-out culture and the heckler's veto. We've seen recently the New Yorker invited Steve Bannon to come speak to the New Yorker ideas. The Economist did the same thing. The New Yorker disinvited Bannon. Right. The Economist said, you got to meet people who disagree with you in order to learn, which seems in keeping with your book. How do you sort those two choices?
Well, definitely, our context is campus, and campuses are completely different institutions than magazines. And when a campus makes a decision that you're no longer invited to this campus because we don't like your ideas, that's antithetical to the whole idea of what a university is supposed to be.
You've done the hard things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say the 300 reference, because I've met over the last 3 weeks or so, I've met with a bunch of moms and boys about coming into our program, and I always try to use that reference, and nobody's seen it anymore. Like, none of the boys who are 12. Of course
they haven't, because that's like too much. No, people need to see that.
But I mean, like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, they give me like a blank stare. I'm like, okay, so I need a better metaphor. But it's funny because you brought up the exact one that I go to. Yeah, but there's that piece, right? Like when you've done the hard things, even just the stuff you brought up in this call, like you carry those with you. You know what I mean? So the next challenge or hurdle, it's not this completely novel stimulus that's like, holy shit, that's a big wave. It's like, no, you've surfed waves that are like that size before.
Yeah, I've seen this mountain before.
Right, exactly.
And I can't climb it. It's going to be hard and tough, but I can do it. I think that I have been like that on myself, and it started when I was 17. So when I was 17, like I lost a lot of weight, and it was on me, like over 100 pounds. So I decided one day, I looked around, I'm like, I don't want to be the fattest person. Like I was just like, I don't want to grow up and die. I don't want to anymore. And I decided to just exercise, lose weight, and I did. And I was very hard on myself. I was very strict on myself. I was like, you're the only person that's making you fat. You need to either stay fat and not complain or change your life. Like, that's how I was on me.
Damn.
And so, yeah, in a year, I lost like 100 pounds. And then like maybe a couple months after that, I lost 20 more. So, and I've been able to keep it off for like now, I guess 13 years. Yeah, 13 years. And like, I'm like that with me. I exercise every day. I'm like that. It's just, now it's routine. Sometimes I forget I was fat, which is great. I'm just kidding. But I've been like that on myself. And for me, I guess that's how I learn. And I guess when someone does that to me, it's like you're demanding some type of something out of me where you see such potential and that I'm not living up to it, and that you want me to see that.